This program is underwritten by the generous support of Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
Firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
Welcome, everybody. Not a big crowd tonight, but I'd like to start tonight's meeting. It's a regular town board meeting. It's February 12th, 2018. Time is about 7 p.m. But before we begin the regular agenda, would you all please rise and join Councilwoman Catherine Atherton in saying the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, everybody, and welcome. There are no public hearings tonight, but we do have 20 resolutions before us. What?
22.
20
yes.
20 resolutions. Well, sometimes I'm just proud of something.
Over here, we only got 20. You all might have 22.
Yeah, I've been there. Okay. And what I do is I explain, give a brief explanation of the 20 resolutions, and then I give the public an opportunity to speak to those resolutions. Now, if you have another town topic that you'd like to speak to us about, you're welcome to do so, and I will give you that opportunity towards the end of the meeting, where you will have 4 minutes to speak to that. But these are this portion of the town board meeting pertains to just the 20 resolutions before us. Now, you are given 3 minutes to speak to those resolutions, and you're not given anything any longer, and please don't ask for special treatment. It's 3 minutes. You will hear a buzzer go off, and at that time, please conclude your thought and return to your seat. If you have more to say, we have email. My door is open. Their doors are open. There is various forms of communication you can get your point across to us. Okay? And I'd be pleased if you abide by that. Thank you. So let's go through the resolutions real quickly. 20 resolutions. And like I said, I'll give you an opportunity. There's an agenda up there if you'd like to come down and grab one. So, Karen, the first resolution before us,
Sure.
2.1.
Yep, resolution authorizing intermunicipal agreement between Town of Queensbury and Warren County towards combating aquatic invasive species in Glen Lake.
All right, the county puts aside money for fighting invasive aquatic species. Because Glen Lake has a public access, it's entitled to some of those. And for, I think it's the 4th or 5th year, the Warren County is granting, for the purpose of protecting Glen Lake, $25,000. This is an acceptance of that, of those funds. 2.2.
Resolution authorizing engagement on Solitude Lake Management for 2018 lake management contract in connection with Glen Lake Aquatic Plant Growth Control District.
All right, I see Paul Derby out in the audience. Paul Derby and I work with Solitude folks and the DEC to work out an annual management plan for Glen Lake. We think we've got one. All this happens faster than what you might think. We need to get in and apply the remediation techniques for attacking mostly milfoil, but other invasive aquatic plants as well. The earlier we get to them, the more effective it is. All right, so we've gotten together, again, worked out a management plan, And Solitude is presenting this plan and their contract for this treatment and control of Eurasian milfoil and Illinois pondweed. So, whereas in Chapter 3C 2F of the town purchasing procedures, upon the town board considering the reasonableness of the fee, it may engage a particular professional which was previously used with the project without soliciting multiple vendors. And whereas the town board wishes to engage the services of Solitude Lake Management for an aquatic vegetation lake management program for Glen Lake for the amount of $40,240 for a curtain installation to reduce the non-target impacts to aquatic vegetation for an additional sum of $2,800 in accordance with Solitude Lake Management's January 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2018 contract presented at this meeting. And resolved that for reasons outlined above in these circumstances, the Queensbury Town Board hereby waives its requirement under the Town of Queensbury's purchasing policy for 2 written quotes. And be it further resolved that the town board reviewed secret and determined that there shall be a negative declaration. So this is approval of that management plan and the funding of it. Resolution 2.3.
Resolution authorizing engagement of Aqualogic, Inc. for diver-assisted suction harvesting in connection with Lake Sunnyside Aquatic Vegetation Management Program.
Okay. Sunnyside also has its own district called the Lake Sunnyside Aquatic Plant Growth Control District. And this is securing Aqualogic for aquatic vegetation management services for Lake Sunnyside for 2018 in the amount of $1,000 per day plus a one-time setup fee of $200, not to exceed a total of $30,200, and such program to consist of diver-assisted suction harvesting, or DASH, to control invasive aquatic species within portions of Lake Sunnyside. And again, whereas in Chapter 4, Section 3, Subsection C, Subsection 2F of the Town Purchasing Procedures, the Town Board considers the reasonableness of the fee. It may engage in a particular professional which was previously used in connection with the project being undertaken or continued or substantially similar project without soliciting multiple vendors. So it's resolved that for the reasons outlined above, in these circumstances, the Queensbury Town Board hereby waives its requirement under the Town of Queensbury's purchasing policy for 2 written quotes. Resolution 2.4.
Resolution authorizing advertisement of bids for sale of obsolete backhoe.
Okay, this is a 1999 Firmec 760B backhoe. It is the Town Highway Department surplus. And we're advertising it in the official town newspaper with a minimum bid of $16,000. Resolution 2.5.
Resolution authorizing advertisement of bids for sale of obsolete equipment.
All right, these are other items that we've deemed obsolete, and they will go to Gov Deals for disposal. And they are motorized pallet jack, tire changer, bearing press, and a 2012 horsepower design jet large format printer. Resolution 2.6.
Resolution authorizing hiring of Rodney Warrington as temporary part-time instrumentation technician at town water treatment plant.
All right, we have a technician who had an accident and is out due to injury, and we need Rodney Warrington's skills to help fulfill what's needed for the water treatment plant. Resolution 2.7.
Resolution authorizing waiver of 30-day notification required by New York State Liquor Authority in connection with San Sushi's restaurant.
All right, we have a new ownership, a new group buying the San Sushi of Cleverdale. And they would like us to waive the 30-day notification required by New York State Liquor Authority in an effort to expedite the permit for change of ownership to license the premise. Resolution 2.8.
Resolution authorizing Adirondack Runners to conduct 32nd Annual Shamrock Shuffle Road Race and Leprechaun Leap Children's Fun Run.
All right, I do this event every year. It's Sunday, March 25th, 2018. It starts at approximately 10 a.m. It begins and ends at Clemson Falls High School. It does go on Queensbury roads, so they need insurance and approval by the Highway Department. They have both. And now they need just approval by the town board. It's a 5-mile race, and I know that Town Council Mark Shackner helps out with that, along with many other community endeavors. Resolution 2.9.
Resolution authorizing Adirondack runners to conduct Adirondack 15K race to the lakes.
All right, I will not be doing this one. 15K race. It is Saturday, June 30th, 2018. It starts at about 8 a.m. It starts at SUNY Adirondack and ends at the Battlefield Park in Lake George. It's approximately 15K. And again, they use town roads, and so they need insurance and a highway department approval, and they have that. Now all they need is the town board approval to move forward. Resolution 210.
Resolution approving year 2017 service award program records for emergency medical squads.
In an effort to try and attract new and keep our current volunteers in our fire and EMS squads, this one pertains just to the EMS squads, we offer a service awards program. It's kind of a little retirement gift. If they receive so many service award points, at least 50 per year, and they're in this at least 5 years, then they'll get something when they retire from the volunteer program. In this case, it's EMS. Resolution 211.
Resolution appointing G. Michael Dixon as alternate member of Town Planning Board.
All right. Mr. Dixon, we're very impressed with his style and his resume, and we're very glad that he's offered to donate his services to the planning board. So this is appointing him as an alternate member of the planning board, and we have 2 alternates, and should one regular membership become available, Michael Dixon will move into that spot as well. And this is good. It expires December 31st, 2024. Then we can look at renewing that, okay?
Thank you.
Yes, Michael's and thank you. Resolution 212.
Resolution authorizing agreement between Town of Queensbury and Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Southern Adirondacks.
All right, this comes out of our community fund. They've requested $2,000 to help them out with Big Brother Big Sister events. Resolution 213.
Resolution authorizing agreement between Town of Queensbury and Eastern New York Marine Trades Association.
Okay, this is $15,000 to promote the event, which is a huge event, in Queensbury at the Adirondack Sports Complex, AKA the Dome, in the town of Queensbury. And this event is going to be held earlier this year, and they asked for the money earlier this year, and it's going to be between March 2nd and the 4th in 2018. Resolution 214.
Resolution authorizing agreement between Town of Queensbury and Glens Falls Area Youth Center.
All right, this comes out of our community fund, and it's $12,000, and it's for a very good organization. The Queensbury Glens Falls Area Youth Center. Resolution 215.
Resolution authorizing agreement between Town of Queensbury and Queensbury Land Conservancy, Inc.
All right, and this is for a sum of $25,000, and it will go to administering the organization as well as various endeavors that the organization does, such as trail creation, bridge creation, and so forth, as well as other preservation needs that need to be done to lands in the Queensbury. Resolution 216.
Resolution authorizing agreement between Town of Queensbury and Queensbury Youth Baseball and Softball.
Okay, this is $12,000 to go towards the Queensbury Youth Baseball and Softball to help keep down the prices so it's very affordable to all kids. Resolution 217.
Resolution authorizing agreement between Town of Queensbury and West Glens Falls Fire Company No. 1, Inc., Town of Queensbury Fire Convention Committee to host the 129th Annual Hudson Valley Volunteer Firemen's Association Convention.
This is a huge event. The 129th Annual Convention of the Hudson Valley Volunteer Firemen's Association Convention, and it is going to be held and hosted in Queensbury. There are thousands of firefighters who come to this and bring their families, fill up the hotels, use the restaurants. They need $15,000 for marketing and organizing it. And so this is to give them $15,000 towards that effort. A resolution 218.
Resolution approving audit of bills February 13, 2018.
Okay, the bills can't be paid unless this town board approves them, and this is for approval for a warrant with a run date of February 8th and a payment date of February 13th, 2018, totaling $870,084.38. Resolution 219.
Resolution to amend 2017 budget.
All right, just a small shift in the budget. Resolution 220, the last one.
Resolution authorizing award of bid for purchase of electric vehicle for town wastewater department.
Okay, this is a bid. We only had one bid. It was for a 2018 Nissan Leaf, and the bid amount was for $26,082.21. And the water department, or the wastewater director, would like an additional $1,500 for ancillary items to make it wastewater department ready. Those are the 20 resolutions before us tonight. Are there any members of the public that wish to ask questions or share concerns about any of these resolutions before us tonight? If you're interested, please indicate so. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Travis Whitehead. As far as 2.4 is concerned, the backhoe, I just want to make a note that I haven't seen Ron Ball around for months now. I think he's down south, and I know he indicated he'd be interested in that, but I know he also indicated he'd want to inspect it as well. We'll see what happens. But on Resolution 220, about the car, I do have continuing questions about that. The main one being, do we really need to buy it now? Mr. Harrington was given a brand-new car by this board 6 weeks ago. It's a Ford Fusion. It's sitting there in his lot. I don't know, all of a sudden he needs a second car. I really don't know. Can someone explain why a second car is needed? No explanation?
These cars are used by more than just Mr. Harrington.
Okay, well, I was trying to figure out what the cars are being used for, because like anybody, you've got to analyze what they're being used for, and, I was told it's being used by Mr. Harrington.
Yeah, the car that it's replacing won't pass inspection without requiring thousands of dollars worth of work.
Right, but that's the same reason was given to buy the Ford Fusion.
That's what happens when these vehicles last
So
as
there are
long and
multiple
get used
vehicles.
as much as
and
they do.
There are multiple vehicles that have been replaced. I did do some analysis of, the driving around town. This is in town. This is, within 20 miles or so. Why you need a 120-mile range, I have no idea. You only got one bid. It was a very restrictive specification that you put out there, and needing 120 miles charge. I don't know why you need 120 miles charge. Perhaps you can tell me why that is. I'm not expecting you to. I did see in the paper you were more responsive with the Post-Star than you have been with me. You're saying that, maybe you have to drive down to service the thing in Albany because you can't service around here. To me, that would mean another negative for why would you buy a car that you can't service? How are you going to get the guy back? Or is the guy going to have to wait there for the servicing? Seems to be, costs associated with that. But, in general, why buy it now when $50,000 is going to be available shortly, we hope? And at that point, we will be considering buying electric vehicles, hopefully, hybrids as well. The concern was, 120 miles, John said in the article, I feel uncomfortable if I'm at a certain range that it might run out of hoop, because that's what, an all-battery car does. But there's an awful lot of electric vehicles that have backup engines in them, and they'll go ahead and, you start them up and they'll go as far as you need
Finish your
to.
thought, please.
So that's why I would ask you to postpone this decision until you establish a need, what the need is, and perhaps wait for the $50,000 to show up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak to the board about any of the resolutions before us tonight? Yes, sir.
So, Michael Dixon, you appointed me to a position.
Yes.
I just wanted to formally thank you all. I'm going to enjoy working with everybody. I like this town, I love this town, and we're destined to do some great things around here. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank you personally.
Okay, and thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak to the town board about any of the resolutions before us tonight? Seeing none, any conversations on behalf of the town board in reference to the resolutions before us tonight?
I was just going to say, I mean, Resolution 20, but when we first talked about that, the vehicle's not just for Mr. Harrington, but it was explained that there are various people that go out every day, that they have to go to different homes to check things, checking water meters, things like that. So it's not just for his use, and it's within the town, so there was enough power to go back and forth. So I think it meets the criteria, what we were looking for.
And he needs a car right now. So we can buy this, or we can buy a combustible engine Ford. I thought we were trying to do the environmental friendly thing, since he needs a car now. That would fulfill, we need to get a charging station. A resident of Queensbury said to me, what's the sense of putting a charging station up if you don't have a car? So I think that makes a lot of sense. We need a car, we're putting a charging station in, might as well have a car that matches up to the charging station. This Nissan Leaf does match up to the charging station, and it is needed right now. And the reason why the accounting office, put down the mileage is that they figured they needed an electric car that needed some kind of latitude, that on a day where you don't need the air conditioning or heating, you could make it down to Albany and back. So, because if you need the air conditioning or heating, you reduce your potential mileage considerably, in some cases almost in half. And what they give you too, if they say it's 151 miles, that's under ideal conditions. If you're in a mountainous area, that's going to be less. If you're in city congested driving, it's going to be less. If you have a heavy load, it's going to be less. If you're using the air conditioning and the heating, it's going to be less. So you don't want to look at something that starts off with 50 miles and then only gives you maybe 10 miles by the time, if it's an imperfect day, by the time you're all said and done. I'd rather have something with a mileage range that gives you some comfort level, and I think that the Nissan Leaf does that. So it was the accounting office that put in the mileage, figuring that, they would want to give some kind of latitude, a range for the people using the vehicle to have a service area as far as Albany. So it was them who determined that. And also I know that various claims have been made about me manipulating the kind of vehicle it was. And yes, at first, I still like the Chevy Bolt. By the way, which Whiteman does service in the area, and by the way, which American made. Okay, having said that, we are where we are. And I think that the Nissan Leaf is a good car. So, so they needed, in the bid, you can't put generic, I want electric car. You have to put down one or two types of what you're looking for. Now, it doesn't say that you have to specifically have those types. And so we put down a Bolt and a Hyundai as suggested by a resident. And neither one of them bid on it. But Nissan Leaf did, and it's for $26,000 and some change. And if we buy it now, while the grants are still available, we can get $5,000 return on this from DEC. So in essence, buying it for around $21,000.
One other question, and I know you do your homework, I know the purchasing department did. Service was mentioned a couple of times, but it's an electric car. How much service can there be?
The service for electric car is minimal. You don't have to do oil changes or any of that. It's really minimal. The drivetrain on the Leaf is warranted, I should say, up to 100,000 miles. And yes, the Leah Nissan on Dix Avenue in Queensbury at this time does not service them. However, they expect to someday, and it sounded like it wasn't that far off, but they didn't give me a date. So, as electric vehicles gain more popularity, we'll be able to service it here in this area eventually,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I'm sure too. Good, thank you.
Okay? Anything else? Any resolutions you'd like to have pulled for a roll call vote?
218,
218?
the audit of the bills, I will abstain from. There's a payment to EDC
Okay,
included in that.
all right, thank you. Any other resolutions for roll call?
I had one other question.
Yeah.
On 2.2, and it's a question for council, because I know he specializes in secret, but, part of that resolution, the town is approving seeker, and so if we're approving resolution 2.2, is that we're approving seeker at the same time as the resolution?
By approving secret, I think you mean conducting secret review.
Right, yes.
And it's proposed, it may or may not happen, that the board approves a secret negative declaration or determination that there's no need for an environmental impact statement. We're big believers in going through, as you know, and going through that, allowed at the open public meeting, in which case I was going to suggest that we go through the short environmental assessment form, part 2, prior to adoption of the resolution.
Okay.
And that's where you're heading, right, George?
Yes.
Yep, that was gonna be our recommendation.
Okay. Well, why don't we do that now? 2.2, we'll go through seeker.
You should see the environmental assessment form in your packages.
And it's page 3 of 4, I believe, part 2, impact assessment with
That's exactly right.
11 questions. And the potential, or are you going to give us the introduction, council?
I'm not sure what you mean by introduction. I mean, you're looking at, Councilman Varone actually broke the ice here. You're looking at environmental assessment form, a short form, which is all that's required for this action. Part 1 has already been completed, as is appropriate, with the project information. The 11 questions in Part 2 are fairly short, and each should be considered, and you should consider whether, in respect to each of the 11 questions, there could be a potential environmental impact, and if so, characterize it as small or moderate to large, or if there will not be a potential environmental impact, simply answer no. We can go through the questions, I can read them, or someone else can read them, however you like.
Would you please?
I'd be happy to.
Is everyone all set? So we'll start with question number 1 then?
Just gonna wait for them to catch up. All set?
You okay, Catherine? Okay.
Okay, so this is your short environmental assessment form, and these are the 11 questions that are addressed anytime this type of environmental assessment form is utilized. There are 2 types of environmental assessment forms, the short and the long or full. More complicated actions involving more agencies require the longer or full environmental assessment form. Simpler actions involving less agencies, you only use this short form. So the 11 questions are as follows. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations?
No. No.
Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land?
No. No.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
No.
Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area?
No.
No.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway?
No. No.
Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities?
No.
Will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies?
Yes, but the impact will be small, I believe.
Consensus, yes and small?
Yes.
Okay. Will the proposed action impact existing public or private wastewater treatment utilities?
No.
No.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources such as wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, or fauna?
Yes.
I heard a yes?
Moderate.
Yes, you're saying adverse change to natural resources and...
Well, not an adverse, sorry, not adverse.
Yeah, an
All right,
an
that's the
important word in that question is adverse.
So no, I'm sorry.
So no is the consensus? Okay. Question 10, will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems?
No.
Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
No.
Okay, so having answered all questions no, it would be appropriate to include in the proposed resolution, and it already is, issuance or approval of the secret negative declaration, or the determination that there are no potentially significant adverse environmental impacts, and therefore no need to cause the preparation of an environmental impact statement. And that language is already in your draft resolutions.
Okay. Okay. So let's do the roll call 2.18, resolution approving the order to bills first, please, Karen.
Okay, so we need someone to introduce this.
Yes. Introduced by Councilman Medevere, seconded by
I'll second.
Councilman Ferone.
Okay, Councilperson Medevere,
Yes.
Atherton,
Yes.
Ferone,
Yes.
Switzer. Abstain. And Stroud.
Yes. All right, so resolution 218 passes. Now, a resolution to move approval for 2.1 through 2.17 and 2.19 and 2.20. A resolution to move those forward, please. Motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Ferone,
A second.
seconded by Councilwoman Switzer. Roll call vote on the remaining resolutions, please.
Okay, Councilperson Atherton,
Yes.
Ferone,
Yes.
Switzer,
Yes.
Stroud.
Yes.
Medevere.
Yes.
Okay, they all pass. Any correspondence?
Yes, I have two. They're from Travis Whitehead regarding Smart one dated January 23rd and the other one January 6th of 2018, which are on file in the town clerk's office.
Okay, thank you. Privilege of the floor. 4 minutes. Yes, ma'am?
Lisa Adamson, Lake Parkway, Queensberry. Excuse me. First of all, I want to congratulate all of you on your election to the town board, and I very much look forward to working with you and coming to you with my concerns and ideas in your upcoming term. I also want to express my specific thanks to Supervisor Stroud and Tony Medevere for their year in and year out ongoing receptivity to grassroots groups and commitment on behalf of the town in their work around water quality, and for all they continuously try to implement. And I want to acknowledge your, John's, bold and creative support for implementation in the area of sustainable energy for our town. I recognize that in both energy and water quality areas, there are many town projects ongoing as we speak. And I am most appreciative of that. When I look at the Town of Queensberry website, it has drop-downs for various departments. There is a town historian department. She, in fact, has an office and hours, and there are notes and links on that, area where she's noted related to this field posted by the town on the website. We have an animal control department, a parks and recreation department, many departments, and there are several related to water quality, including stormwater and sewer districts, but there's not one comprehensive category for water quality and land use issues, nor is there anything specific which I could see in perusing the website about sustainable energy issues. Environmental issues, as we all know, including both water quality and greenhouse gas emissions and climate crisis, are one of the most critical issues of our lifetime. So, if we can have a department for our history, which you all certainly know that I'm totally in favor of, we can also have it for our future. I would like to see the town of Queensberry create an environmental department office, which would be both noted on the website and an area open to the public, which would include both your water quality work and your sustainable energy efforts. Hopefully, it would be in this department that the town of Queensberry could initiate and complete a timetable for a projected schedule for emission drawdown such that our town could declare itself to be fossil-free or 100% clean renewable energy by a certain date. I understand this takes a lot of work and a lot of research. There are many cities in the United States, counties, and some states that already are on this path, and some are already carbon neutral. And I have a printout back at my seat from the Sierra Club on which they are. I have wanted to see for a long time environmental water quality departments in each one of Lake George's 9 municipalities to create a ring of protection both legislatively and attitudinally. And an environmental department initiated by the town of Queensbury would make a strong start in this regard and put the town of Queensbury in its often acknowledged role of inspirational and leadership. Creating an environmental office housing both water quality and sustainable energy will hopefully inspire other towns in this area to do likewise, and hopefully inspire the municipalities around the lake to create these protective offices. Perhaps this, I thought I had it timed to 4 minutes, but I understand that there's a lot going on already, and perhaps you could, if you would consider this, you could draw on the initiatives already started, including the Environmental Committee and your consultants and all of that. And I'm not expecting an answer from you all tonight, but I would love some follow-up when you have a chance.
All right, thank you.
And to let me know what you're considering of this.
All right, thank
Okay.
you. Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right, Lisa. Anybody else like to speak to the board about town issues? Yes, sir.
Travis Whitehead. I'd just like to amplify, what was your name again?
Lisa.
Lisa, I mean, I agree with that entirely. I think one of the initiatives that needs to be looked at, continue to be looked at, was an initiative pushed by Jim Mackey 2 years ago, the transfer law. That is where we know that there are probably a good number of septic systems that are in failed condition. But, you know, basically the town has taken a see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil attitude towards that, and it's a disservice actually to the people that are buying the houses that don't know what they're getting into. It seemed like we had good agreement that this ought to go forward.
We're about 98% there at this point
I would,
on that?
you know, it looks like we were at 98 for quite a while.
No, we're good.
I'd love to see it go.
It's going to go.
Good.
We're good.
Okay.
We're not, you know.
As a board, we're all in support of
Yeah.
even the new members.
I've heard nothing but support for it, and I've heard nothing but support expressed. I think it would be very valuable.
It's just the language is very difficult, and you have to understand, well, not you, but we all have to understand, that's going to be a working document.
Yeah. But we also have a lot of patterns. There are, you know, other places in New York State and certainly other states that have adopted laws that are very similar. So I think that's one of the most important things you can do to the health of the lake, which is so important to all of us. And that's what I'd like to say.
Okay.
Before I leave, actually, if there's any questions any of you have, I know that some of you have expressed some concerns about me. I know I've had questions. I just tried to ask John a question earlier this evening, and he didn't really want to respond, but then he went ahead and had his statements, you know, a minute or two later. If there's any questions or anything, I'd rather have a conversation rather than have somebody now, when they go into the next section of, you know, town board discussion or something where we cannot participate or question what's being said. I don't think it's quite fair to be taken, you know, making statements at that point when you could make them you know, discourse. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to speak to the board and town issues? All right, it is a privilege of the floor, and it's an opportunity for residents and citizens to share their point of view and their thoughts with the board. Privilege of the floor is not meant to be an exchange or a debate, okay? And again, the privilege of the floor, there is, we don't have to do it by law. There is no law in New York State that says we have to offer a privilege of the floor. We do, because we think the public has a lot of good ideas, and we want to hear those ideas, but it's not necessarily for a debate. Okay. Since I see no other residents wishing to speak to the town board, we'll move on to town board discussions. Tony, anything?
Well, we're a month and a half into this fine year, and it's been the busiest year I think we've had as a town and a town board in my 10 years. I'm like every day is something new, so it's been interesting. But it's good, so we're getting stuff done, and the transfer law, we will get there. It has been frustrating. Every time we get together to go over it, we go away with more questions than we had, but we're getting there. I'm confident. And I did want to say that I'm not a football fan at all, but I watched the Super Bowl, and it was a fantastic game. But you have to remember one thing, that your highway department guys didn't get to watch it, at least live, because they were out on that Sunday night, and that Wednesday night, and Thursday night. Those poor guys have been run ragged this winter. I call him a friend of mine, I don't know the guy, but he's this meteorologist I believe in. He's from Pennsylvania. And he told me today on Facebook that winter is over. So I'm going to go with that. He said winter's over in the Northeast.
What's his name? Puxatawny?
No, it's Henry Margisetti, and he's a heck of a great forecaster, but he's an optimistic guy too. But my point is, next time you see a plow truck guy out, make sure if you're going to give him a finger, it's a thumbs up, and give him some room and some space, and, you know, as they say, give them a break, because they've had a rough winter and missed the Super Bowl for us. So
yeah,
just keep that in mind for these poor guys.
Very good point.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Tony, Catherine?
I agree with Tony. It's been very busy. And I have nothing to compare it to, so I'm taking it as normal, as being normal.
It's not quite normal, but
yeah, I mean, it's going to be my normal, I guess.
Yeah. It's a new normal.
Yes. And I've had many contacts with constituents. They've been contacting me. There must be half a dozen by now. So that's keeping me busy. And happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Well, I think you're realizing all the things that are involved in running a town can be mind-boggling.
Yep.
I mean, when people, for example, ask for sidewalks, that's right. Simple.
It's very complicated. Trust
we
me,
all favor
complicated.
sidewalks, but it's not just like, okay, you want sidewalks? Let's put them in.
And I not reminded Catherine, but explained to her that if somebody requests a street light, that's fine, but you need to make sure the other people on that street want that light too.
Not showing in their bedroom.
Right.
Right. All right, thank you, Catherine. George?
Well, I think Tony hit on a good point there about the highway department. I was thinking the same thing when I see that gentleman coming around down Potter and around my block again and again and again. They do a fantastic job. Your friend down in Pennsylvania, I would say that winter finishes in Pennsylvania a heck of a lot earlier than it does up here. So, the other thing I just wanted to mention was that you've seen me stand up here and talk about, you know, I've been on a variety of different boards over the years, and you know, the process there on those boards is that, you know, usually they have a governance committee, and you're vetted based on what you can bring to the table, and you're on that board and you serve that board to the best of your ability. And there's not a lot of questioning about that. And being on this town board, I mean, it's very different in that there are a lot of folks who have ideas and thoughts, and it's great that they share them with us. But I don't want to see us get into a position of, I know when I was in business, we used to talk about paralysis by analysis, and that is, you keep talking about the same thing over and over again, and you don't come to a decision. And I think a lot of times we've done a good job of analyzing things, but then we double think ourselves because we're getting feedback from the folks that we serve. And again, the process is that they should do that, but I think that where we are is that folks voted for us to be up here, and I hope that that meant that they had trust in us and what we were going to do and the decisions we were going to make, and I hope that we could do that without paralysis by analysis. And that's all I've got.
Okay, thank you, George. Jennifer?
So although you all think winter's over, in case it isn't, I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention out there that beginning today, a second emergency benefit is available for households who have exhausted both the regular and the first emergency heat benefits. And there's several contacts locally. You can go to the Department of Social Services, Warren County Office for the Aging, and emergency contacts through the Warren County Sheriff's Department. And I'm hoping that for the local mountains and our rec department, next week is a vacation week for everyone. And there's great programs being offered by our rec department. I sat on the rec commission for quite a few years, and there's everything that you can possibly imagine that your children would be interested in. Some special events next week for vacation week. So go to the Parks and Rec department and check that out. It's anything from creating a snowflake to bridges, Brixology, Lego workshop. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Yes, once in a while we get a very nice snow. And dear town of Queensbury, we've sold our house in Queensbury, and the new owner is Michael Girardi. And thank you for the opportunity for our family to live in such a great community. We're very grateful. Bruce and Sarah Tamlin, who now live in Silver Bay. And so it's nice, so I thought I'd share that. And I went to receiver of taxes. Bill Collins, the councilman, the second ward for Glens Falls, sent us a letter. It was actually to Kathy Bozzoni, but it's also to the town. On behalf of the city of Glens Falls, I would like to accept your offer to participate as a partner in the Solarize campaign being coordinated by the town of Queensbury as part of NYSERDA's Clean Energy Community CEC program. And he goes on, but that's very nice that the city was the first one to jump right on the bandwagon and work with us on that matter. And also, as you know, we got $100,000. We have a letter here from Rosanna Rosado, Secretary of State for the Department of State. On behalf of Governor Cuomo, I'm pleased to inform you funding has been awarded to the New York State DOS Brownfield Opportunity Program for the following project, and that's the Queensbury South Brownfield Opportunity Area that we've talked about. And so we got the letter of $100,000. And I've also shared with the board, I'm not going to go over it, if you thought I was, 8 pages of what is going on in this town right now. What you see on the town board meetings is the tip of a huge iceberg. What goes on an everyday and weekly basis, and our new council persons are realizing this, is huge. And it is a lot of work. And it's a lot of balls to bounce in the air. And it's also one of the reasons why I give my supervisor's report to board and community.
Yay.
All right, it's been a while. January 23rd, Tuesday, following the last town board meeting, I had a county facilities meeting. I signed the Community Development Buildings grant, and we had a meeting with the Bay Ridge Rescue Squad folks. January 24th, Wednesday, I met with New York State Department of Labor, Priya Desai, to discuss our updated workplace violence policy. The proposed policy, and I've been sharing it with you as I give my supervisor's report. So our proposed policy is based on New York State's model. And she said that was acceptable. And we explained to Priya that we worked with our department managers, and we've developed individualized department training, and that training was shared with all our workers. However, Priya from the New York State Department of Labor felt that that proposed policy was not shared with union representatives, which it was indirectly. We in turn felt that we had shared this with all our workers, including the union representation. She didn't feel that she had evidence that we shared it with the union representatives, and we pointed out to her that the law says the employer, with the participation of the authorized representative, shall evaluate the workplace to determine the factors which may place employees at risk of workplace violence, and we did do this. She wasn't convinced. That she felt we should need to share it with our union representatives, and that we didn't have any indication that we did that directly. We told her that we had. You never told us that we had to do that directly. And so she says, well, you may get fined, but you do have recourse to state your case at a hearing, and we probably will do that. And to this day, we have not received any formal document claiming violation. All right, met with Town Council Bob Hafner that same day to debrief him on the outstanding legal issues coming before us. I got a call from ARCC CEO hiring firm Waverly Partners, Rebecca Wilson Rogers, and asked me what I thought the new leadership should be like for the ARCC. And I told him, just like George was given. Pretty much, George. I didn't really say that, but that's what I was thinking. Safety committee meeting. We met with the safety committee and Perma Al Campney and Christian Summers to discuss safety and training programs here in the town and the performance, and it's improving all the time. We're getting better and better and better. Ever since we had that Code 59 and workman's comp, every year we're getting better and better and better. And the 5-year analysis, which is coming up next year, we should be completely back to normal and saving hundreds of thousands of dollars. Each year now we're saving, I think last year we saved $100,000 because of our safety program. Worker injuries and accidents were way down, and that's good. Then I had a community action agency board meeting, and Thursday on the 25th at a SUNY Adirondack workshop, met with representatives from Pyramid, David Aitken and Matthew Bader, and Aviation Mall's new general manager, James Griffith. And we're all very positive about the region and things that are happening now and will happen in the Queensbury region. Friday, the 26th, we had our first Pathway Corridor Project meeting, or some people call it the Exit 20 Task Force and Study. Present there were members of the AGFTC, the EDC, New York State Department of Transportation, Warren County DPW, and the engineering firm of Creighton Manning. We talked about traffic and public safety concerns in that corridor. I'm talking about the Route 9 corridor from the intersection with 149 all the way down to the intersection with Sweet Road, that corridor. So we talked about some of the needed transportation improvements, the needed bicycle and pedestrian accommodations. This was the first meeting. There is a 10-month project schedule for this. We need to work to some kind of consensus as to what needs to be done, so we will be meeting in the future with stakeholders. We'll be looking to meet with people who know of ways of funding these improvements, and we will take a look at current situation, and if we leave it as it is, what kind of effect will it have on the economic development of that particular region. All right, then almost immediately after that, I went to a tourism committee and then an occupancy tax committee meeting up to the county. And then I met with the New York State Office Controller's Office, and we talked about a risk assessment of the Suez contract. And I met with Brian Mack and Rachel Schwingdinger, and we gave our point of view on that matter. And then we had a meeting because twice we have applied for grant money to do a Glen Lake wastewater study, and we've been rejected twice. So we got together the minds involved, include people who are in the grant world, Barton and Judas people, Glen Lake representatives, to kind of brainstorm as to what we could be doing better to get a successful grant, to take a look at how we can better service wastewater needs in the Glen Lake region, because we know the current situation is contributing to the pollution levels in Glen Lake. We would like to remedy or improve that. On Saturday the 27th, I went to Bay Ridge's Volunteer Fire Company's annual meeting and banquet. On Sunday the 28th, I was here in the office doing administrative work. I then went up to the Lake Stewardship Group social at the Cloverdale Country Store. That was very nice up there. I like the way they rearranged Cloverdale Store. It's much more functional. On Monday the 29th, I had a Halfway Hudson Trail Committee meeting. And the Halfway Hudson Trail, we're taking a look at developing a trail that will go from Peggy Ann Road to Corinth Road. Because once you get to Corinth, Luzerne and Corinth Roads, then you can tie in with the Hudson Point system, trail system. You can tie in with the Feeder Canal Trail system things. And then you can tie in with the Warren County Bike Trail, which in turn ties into all the others. So it's like a spinal system we're trying to develop. Also had an algae monitoring discussion with Kristen Binsky. I know we formed, Lisa, an algae study, an algae committee. And that algae committee developed a flow chart of, you know, what happens, when, where, and at what point can the town take legal action. Now, we haven't gotten that far because jumping from identifying the type of algae that indicates organic pollution to going on somebody's property without their permission, it's a legal jump that you have to be very careful in manufacturing. Now, can we go and ask the resident for their permission to take a look at their grounds because we think that something on their property is contributing to the nutrient levels in front of the property and contributing to algae, the types of algae that indicate organic pollution. Okay, so Kristen Binsky is making great headway on that matter. So that will be shared with you all in the near future. January 30th, Tuesday, I met with Mayor Blaze and WIC executive committees. And we're going to meet and hopefully meet with John Wimbush and discuss the future of what we're going to do with Lake George Watershed Coalition. We're going to have that meeting. On January 31st, Wednesday, we got together and we talked with Steve Seaboyer and Tom Sargent and others about the Rockhurst Community Wastewater System and what type of district formation we need to do and where we need to go to form that district. Then we had a Clean Energy Committee meeting, and it was the Solarize campaign kickoff, which we're hoping to have this spring. But before that, we're going to do some pre-launch events. And we need a name for our Solarize effort because it's going to include Glens Falls, Queensbury, it looks like Lake George, Chestertown, and others. So we need a name. Southern Adirondack Solarize Campaign. Adirondack Gateway Solarize Campaign. Upper Hudson. I'm just shooting things out there. I'm looking at Jennifer to come up with some name. All right, February 1st, Thursday, Finance Committee meeting and Memorial Day Parade Committee. So, people, save the date. Memorial Day is May 28th. We've started organizing that parade now, and it takes us from now to then every year. This is the 19th year I've been doing this. And you are all welcome to be in the parade. And it's a fun time.
It actually is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's only rained for me once in 10 years.
I know, we only got, out of the 18 years doing it, we've only gotten rained out once.
Yep.
We've
But it
gotten
is.
rained on more than once.
It's fun. It is a good
So
time.
so that day, it starts at 10 o'clock in downtown Glens Falls, and then we go up to Crandall Park, and then we have a big remembrance ceremony after that, and George Steck is part of that, and so it's a memorial time. We have outreach programs that go to the young people in terms of essay contests and poster contests about what Memorial Day is all about. Okay, so there'll be more on that forthcoming. On Monday, February 5th, we had a town board workshop, and we spoke with West Glens Falls Volunteer Fire Company and talked about the request for occupancy tax funding. They requested $18,500. We just awarded $15,000 for hosting the 129th Annual Hudson Valley Volunteer Firemen's Association Convention and Parade, which will be this June 20th through the 23rd. Chris Kilmartin was the key speaker. We discussed with Keith Stack, who is with the Addictions Care Center, and they would like to have a center for women in the Queensbury area and someday for men. And we're talking about people who were trying to solve this opioid crisis. And it's not pleasant. I think we all have members of our family, either near or far, who have gotten stuck with this heroin addiction, and it's an awful, awful thing. Anyhow, this will be an addictions care center located somewhere in Queensbury. So Keith Stack and folks, were very nice meeting them. Then we had Stored Tech is proposing, and they're going to give a public proposal of what they gave the town board at the workshop. In other words, we need to do something. Our infrastructure for data storage, our servers are decaying to the point where we're leasing some right now, because we got to make up our mind. Are we going to have on-site servers, or are we going to go to the cloud? Okay? So they've been doing research on behalf of the town, for the town, to take a look at infrastructure requirements, design solutions. They've done a proof of concept to see if we could move to the cloud, and if we can, with about 95% of what we have here, maybe even more than 95%. So they're looking at considering the town's future needs for compliance, security, continuity, recovery, planning, strategy, preparing for the future, reliability, redundancy, scalability, and a cost-benefit analysis of doing on-site service or on-the-premise servers versus the cloud, and the advantages and disadvantages of these. And we'll have a public presentation of that on the next meeting, February 26th. We also took a look at a group of people who would like the town to participate in purchasing the Freiberger property in the Rush Pond Park area. And Queensbury Land Conservancy's Leon Steves explained to us what the Queensbury Land Conservancy does and why it needs the funding it asked for. On February 6th, Tuesday, we had a Warren County Safe and Quality Bicycle organizational meeting. We had interviews for county administrator. I talked to Vince Petrozello of the EPA. And he said that the EPA will provide a service to the town of Queensbury in that it will analyze our landfill to see if, and give us a report on its suitability for providing solar on the landfill area. I said I was interested, and the city might be as well. I went to the Roy Thomas Wake. We're going to really miss him. He was a prominent figure in our greater community and contributed to the quality of life that we all enjoy. Thank you, Roy, and we miss you. Town board workshop that night was canceled because of the snowstorm, so we're going to need to reschedule. Dave Wick, who was going to present Lake George Park Commission's new stormwater regulations, or changes at least, and get some feedback on us from that matter, so I'll have to reschedule that. On Thursday, February 8th, after we all shoveled out from the snowstorm, we had a meeting with the EMS on the billing. Jennifer was there. And see what our options are moving forward, because the EMS world, as you know, is one of the big issues that we're trying to deal with in the town. The volunteers are no longer there. And we have 3 EMS squads. We have North Queensbury, Bay Ridge, and West Glens Falls. The service, 72 square miles, 30,000 people. That's normal residents. That doesn't include, during the summer, how many people are here, the shoppers, the Great Escape folks, the people in our hotels and our restaurants and everything else. We have to service them as well. Okay? But the volunteers aren't there anymore, and the training is huge. So now we're going to paid service. All the EMS squads have come to us saying, listen, for us to survive, we need huge increases. Well, that's going to blast the tax cap, for one thing, but, you know, can we recombine the EMS squads? Can we take a look at efficiencies in the EMS squads? We got to do something, but it's not an easy problem to solve, but it's one before this town board at this time. Then I went to the Stephen Hawkins wake, another friend who passed away. He's the owner of O'Toole's, and I helped him celebrate his 25th anniversary not long ago. And it's too bad he's passed. He was a very nice guy. Then Thursday night here, we had a public informational hearing on assessment. As you know, we try and stay at 100%. So every 4th year, we have to have public hearings to explain to the public what assessment is, how it's done, and so forth. And there were a few people to hear. It wasn't overcrowded. For this, but Terry Ross and Ted Bigelow did a great job and did a very nice comprehensive presentation that evening. On Friday, I met with Jack Diamond in my office. We talked about a lot of things. Joel Holden called me up wondering where we are with the fire company contracts, and I told him that town council is reviewing the contracts to assure their compliance with the state law, that I had not heard any problem with the budgets they were presenting, which was about a percent and a half increase. It was just that we want to make sure that the contract language is in compliance with some of the new state laws, and Bob's reviewing that for us. On Saturday, February 10th, I went up to the Harrisina Church and watched the building of the Great Sagandaga, Harnessing Nature, a production of Peter Pape and many others. If you haven't seen it, it's great. And I forgot to bring the videotape in. Somebody, was it you, George? Somebody came in to see me today, and they want to see that videotape. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's
the whole thing. Did you see it?
No, I talked to the woman, though, at the conference.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, you got to see it. Yeah, it's called Harnessing Nature, Building the Great Sagandaga. All right, and then yesterday, or Sunday, I came in and I reviewed the county's new RFP for East Waste. The company that we had before, I think I shared that with you, a national company, just wasn't caretaking our e-waste needs. Unless we had a big warehouse and forklift trucks and everything else. So we're going to go out to bid, and in the bid this time, and the RFP this time, I shouldn't say bid, RFP, it's going to explain that we want them to do everything for us, just like Evolution Recycling was doing, so maybe they'll be re-propose on that. And I worked on my State of the Town address. Nobody has asked, John, where's your State of the Town address? All right, I'm working on it. I'm a little bit late in getting it out this year. I worked on it yesterday. And today, we had a attorney-client meeting on various things, and we have the town board meeting tonight. So that's my report to board and community, folks. And it does fill you in on some of the things, like I said, we have 8 pages of things going on in this town. And I make every effort to try and keep you abreast of what's happening in front of this town, even if you don't want to know about what's happening in this town. So that's one way of doing and assuring that I do this, and I know it's not always too exciting. Okay, so with that, anything else for the good of the order, folks? Nope. All right. Then I want to thank the public for coming tonight, and I want to thank Look TV and our cameraman, Joe Barlow, and our sponsors, especially Stored Tech. And I wish you all a good and safe evening. Please drive safely on the way home, and thank you for coming. Our next meeting is February 26th. Good night. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved by Councilman Perone. Seconded by Councilwoman Atherton. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
This program is underwritten by the generous support of Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
Firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.